Welcome to Charette Theory, where design meets narrative and inspiration transforms into space. In today's feature, Bauhaus in Autumn, we explore how the minimalist and highly functional ethos of Bauhaus design can be harmonized with the rich, tactile warmth of fall. The Bauhaus movement, born in early 20th century Germany, is known for its clean lines, geometry, and emphasis on utility. But how can this stark modernism be softened to embrace the cozy, nostalgic qualities of autumn? That's the story we'll be telling through the language of living room design. This episode dives deep into how to curate a space that feels both efficient and emotionally resonant. Whether you're living in a city loft or a suburban home, we'll guide you through every layer of this transformation, from foundational furniture layout to the smallest seasonal detail. Grab your favorite warm drink, settle in, and let's begin designing a living room that speaks to both the head and the heart. The foundation of a Bauhaus-inspired living room lies in its unwavering commitment to purpose-driven design, a philosophy where every element serves a clear and functional role. This begins with the furniture layout, which should be intentional, efficient, and inherently flexible. At the heart of this arrangement is modular seating, a key principle in both modern design and Bauhaus tradition. Choose sofas and chairs that can be easily rearranged depending on the activity or the number of guests. Modular furniture not only adapts to changing needs but also echoes the Bauhaus ethos of utility meeting form. Opt for low-profile seating with clean, rectilinear silhouettes and a minimalist aesthetic. Avoid unnecessary flourishes or decorative elements that serve no practical purpose. Instead, seek out pieces that highlight craftsmanship and material integrity, such as upholstered cushions set into sleek, angular frames. Materials like chrome, powder-coated steel, tubular metal, or smooth wood work beautifully here, especially when paired with upholstery in neutral tones like charcoal grey, soft beige, matte black, or even a muted warm taupe. Multifunctional furniture is just as essential. A Bauhaus-inspired living room should make the most of its space, allowing flexibility without adding clutter. Think of a coffee table that includes hidden storage for books, throws, or remotes, one that blends seamlessly into the room while reducing visible mess. Consider nesting tables that can be expanded during gatherings and tucked away afterward, or a minimalist ottoman that doubles as extra seating or a surface. Even shelving and storage units should reflect this duality of form and function. Open shelving, for instance, can act as both display and storage, offering visual rhythm without overwhelming the room. Built-in pieces that blend into the architecture of the room further enhance the Bauhaus emphasis on spatial clarity. Ultimately, a Bauhaus living room isn't about having less, it's about having better. Each item must justify its presence not just aesthetically, but functionally. The layout should encourage flow and conversation, providing enough openness for people to move naturally through the space. It's not only the objects that matter, but the voids between them, the breathing room that allows the design to shine. This purposeful curation results in a space that is not only visually clean but mentally calming, a room that invites living without distraction. Here, design becomes intuitive, the seamless blend of efficiency, beauty, and restraint. Arranging your Bauhaus-inspired living room, begin with the core principle of usability, a cornerstone of both the movement and effective interior design. Every piece you introduce into the space should serve a clearly defined purpose. This is not a place for purely ornamental objects or excessive styling. Instead, aim for intentionality in every choice, where the layout supports daily life and adapts to a variety of needs, whether you're hosting guests, relaxing with a book, or simply enjoying the quiet elegance of the space. Start by thinking about function before form. Position your seating to foster conversation, interaction, and openness. Sofas and chairs should face each other in a way that encourages eye contact and engagement. Avoid backing furniture into walls unless it's necessary for space efficiency. Even in smaller rooms, floating a modular sofa or placing a pair of chairs across from each other can help establish a dialogue within the room's geometry. Consider the flow of movement throughout the space. Can someone easily move from the entrance to the seating area without navigating around obstacles? Are there clear walkways between furniture pieces? Try to create an invisible path that leads naturally from one zone to the next. This not only supports usability but brings a sense of balance and calm to the room's energy. Negative space, or the space between furniture, is as important as the furniture itself in Bauhaus design. It allows the layout to breathe. Keep visual clutter to an absolute minimum. Surfaces should be clean and composed, not busy or chaotic. Think of each surface, coffee table, console, side table, as a carefully composed still life, not a drop zone for miscellaneous items. Use trays or sculptural containers to organize necessities in a way that still feels elevated. Establish a focal point that anchors the visual experience of the room. This could be a sculptural Bauhaus-style chair with tubular metal framing, a bold light fixture that draws the eye upward, or a large piece of geometric wall art that adds dimension and structure. This focal point acts as a visual compass, giving the rest of the layout something to orbit around. Once you've identified your anchor, allow the other pieces to support it rather than compete with it. The idea is to cultivate visual harmony. Ultimately, the layout should be inviting but composed, warm but restrained. Every object should contribute to a greater sense of coherence, with no single item feeling out of place or excessive. In a true Bauhaus tradition, the whole is greater than the sum of its parts, and thoughtful arrangement is what elevates functional pieces into a unified, purposeful design experience. Autumn arrives not only as a season, but as a color story, one that lends itself beautifully to the structural foundation of Bauhaus design. While Bauhaus is often associated with a strict palette of neutrals and primary colors, black, white, gray, red, blue, and yellow, its core philosophy doesn't resist warmth, it simply requires that warmth be purposeful. To infuse a Bauhaus-inspired living room with autumnal richness, begin with a curated palette of earthy tones. Think ochre, a warm golden yellow reminiscent of fallen leaves and harvest light, burnt sienna and rust, colors that bring to mind the texture of aged clay and fading brick, deep forest greens, evocative of moss-covered woods, and warm browns, grounding the space like rich soil or walnut wood. These shades don't need to dominate. In fact, their beauty lies in subtlety. Think of them as seasonal notes layered over a minimalist base, like a musical harmony that enriches a simple melody. A single rust-colored cushion on a neutral gray sofa can completely shift the mood of a space. A wool throw in deep green folded neatly on a Bauhaus-style armchair invites the warmth of nature indoors without overpowering the design language. Ochre works particularly well as a transitional tone. It's vibrant without being garish. Use it in ceramic vases, woven baskets, or abstract art prints to bring a sunny glow that feels distinctly autumnal. Burnt sienna and rust are powerful in textiles, upholstery, pillow covers, or a woven wool tapestry. Their richness plays well with the more industrial materials typical of Bauhaus furniture: chrome, steel, glass, offering a counterpoint of softness and season. Warm brown tones, whether introduced through wood finishes or accent decor, ground the space. Opt for walnut, teak, or stained oak to add warmth to Bauhaus's structural coolness. Even a mid-century style sideboard in a warm wood tone can become a visual anchor, tying the room to the natural world outside. Don't forget deep green, a color that breathes life into the room. Use it sparingly, in a sculptural planter, a velvet pillow, or a moody abstract print. It nods to both Bauhaus's reverence for nature and autumn's fleeting vibrancy. Ultimately, these earthy colors bring in a seasonal rhythm that makes the space feel connected to time and place. They allow your living room to evolve, not as a static showcase of modernist ideals, but as a living, breathing environment that reflects the cyclical beauty of the natural world. It's not about changing the fundamentals of Bauhaus design, but enriching them, layering warmth and personality over a framework of clarity and intention. In a Bauhaus living room, color is never random. It is applied with clarity and precision, enhancing function, form, and balance. That's why the introduction of rich autumnal tones, like ochre, burnt sienna, rust, deep green, and warm brown, must be done with care, subtly enhancing the environment without overpowering the design's foundational neutrality. The traditional Bauhaus base, black, white, and shades of gray, acts as a visual anchor. These neutral tones create clarity, acting as a backdrop that elevates every line, material, and proportion. When incorporating seasonal colors, think of them not as replacements, but as accents, visual spices that punctuate the monochrome canvas. Start with textiles, the most forgiving and flexible medium for experimenting with color. Consider an ochre throw blanket laid across a charcoal gray sofa, its warm hue catching the light and adding vibrancy to the cool, structured space. Or add a set of rust-colored pillows to a black leather daybed, softening its rigid silhouette while drawing in the warmth of fall. Deep greens can appear in velvet cushion covers, subtly referencing nature without breaking the architectural rigor of the space. For those who want more commitment without clutter, area rugs offer a larger plane for introducing color. Look for pieces that incorporate warm autumn tones within a geometric or color-blocked pattern, staying true to Bauhaus visual principles. A woven rug featuring blocks of ochre, rust, and cream adds richness underfoot while reinforcing the room's geometry. Wall art is another ideal canvas for seasonal tones. Bauhaus design has long celebrated abstract compositions, and autumn colors translate well into this format. Choose minimalist or geometric artworks that include small touches of sienna, moss green, or golden hues. These elements won't fight the base palette. They'll energize it, injecting character without disturbing the overall restraint. Decor accents, like vases, bowls, or lamp bases, can also carry autumn's palette. A matte brown ceramic vessel on a white side table, a green glass vase against a grey wall, these objects add visual interest without visual noise. Stick to simple, sculptural forms that align with Bauhaus aesthetics, allowing color to be the voice while form remains consistent. To ensure harmony, follow the 60-30-10 rule in your palette distribution. 60% should remain your base, white walls, grey seating, black structural elements. 30% can reflect secondary neutral tones, wood finishes, natural textiles, chrome or brushed metal. 10% becomes your seasonal color, rust pillows, ochre ceramics, green artwork. When done right, these autumnal hues don't compete with Bauhaus's minimalism, they complement and humanize it. They bring the warmth of the outside world in, connecting the rigor of modernism with the emotion of the changing season. The result is a space that feels both intentional and alive, rooted in design history, but constantly evolving. In a Bauhaus-inspired living room, the focus on structure and function provides a strong architectural framework, but texture is what brings the space to life. Especially in autumn, when the days grow shorter and cooler, the addition of textiles becomes essential to transforming a room from purely functional to genuinely welcoming. One of the most immediate ways to infuse seasonal warmth is through the strategic use of layered textiles, wool throws, felt cushions, and woven rugs that soften the crisp geometry of Bauhaus design. These tactile elements act as a bridge between the rigid materials of modernism, like steel, glass, and leather, and the cozy expectations of a fall interior. Start with wool throws. These should be draped effortlessly over sofas or lounge chairs, not overly styled, but placed in a way that invites use. Choose colors that reference your autumn palette. Perhaps a warm ochre throw folded over the back of a black sofa, or a burnt sienna blanket loosely resting on a grey modular sectional. The goal isn't to cover the furniture but to interrupt its severity with softness. Felt cushions are another key element. Their dense texture adds volume and depth without appearing bulky. Felt also feels refined, perfectly suited to the Bauhaus principle that material integrity should shine through. Choose cushions with clean edges or minimalist piping in geometric forms, triangles, rectangles, or color blocks. A series of felt pillows in alternating tones, charcoal, deep green, rust, can turn a neutral seating arrangement into a seasonal statement without overpowering the aesthetic. Then, anchor the entire space with a woven rug, ideally one with a low pile and a bold, Bauhaus-aligned pattern. Look for geometric designs that echo the movement's visual language, rectangles, circles, clean diagonals. A rug with a base of cream or grey, interspersed with color-blocked segments in warm browns, muted golds, or rust, not only adds a layer of insulation but also unifies the furniture above it. While warmth is the goal, visual discipline remains essential. Bauhaus interiors resist excess, so your textile choices should be few but impactful. Rather than covering every surface, curate a few strong textile moments that speak clearly to the room's rhythm and flow. And don't underestimate the emotional effect of textiles. In autumn, they don't just warm the body, they evoke comfort, nostalgia, and connection. A well-placed blanket or textured cushion suggests rest, encourages touch, and softens the room's overall tone. It becomes an invitation to slow down, to inhabit the space more fully. In this way, textiles do more than decorate. They perform. They insulate, they divide, they soften, and they reflect a sensitivity to season and user alike. Within a Bauhaus context, they remind us that even in a world built on function, feeling has a place.
At the heart of Bauhaus design lies a deep respect for material honesty, a celebration of surfaces as they are, unadorned and functional. Steel should look and feel like steel. Leather should be smooth and cool. Glass should be clean, reflective, and pure. These hard, structural materials define the movement's industrial modern character. But in the context of an autumn living room, these very materials become even more striking when contrasted with soft, tactile layers. This balance, tension, even, is where the magic happens. Imagine the surface of a sleek black steel coffee table. Now picture it softened by the gentle drape of a wool runner or the organic form of a hand-thrown ceramic bowl. The juxtaposition of soft versus hard, warm versus cool, natural versus industrial doesn't dilute the Bauhaus philosophy, it enhances it by creating a multisensory experience. Soft textiles like felt, wool, buccal, or linen introduce a visual and physical contrast to the crisp lines and firm finishes of Bauhaus furniture. A curved, velvet cushion placed on a rigid chrome-framed chair draws attention not just to the fabric, but also to the chair's silhouette. The cushion makes the chair not only more comfortable, but more beautiful through its contrast. Rugs are another perfect canvas for this dialogue. Beneath a geometric glass table or a tubular steel-legged couch, a thick wool or hand-woven rug creates grounding softness, a buffer between function and emotion. The rug doesn't hide the furniture's structure. Instead, it emphasizes its precision by surrounding it with subtle texture. Even architectural features can play into this balance. A polished concrete floor, common in modernist or loft-style spaces, can feel cold or sterile on its own. But pair it with a layered area rug, a soft pouf, or a curved lounge chair upholstered in felt or mohair, and the result is suddenly inviting. The rigidness becomes a frame for warmth, not a barrier to it. Surfaces like glass shelving, lacquered storage units, or minimalist media consoles provide opportunities for soft counterpoints. Think of a folded blanket stacked neatly on an open shelf, or a suede-bound journal placed beside a sculptural desk lamp. These moments of softness are not clutter, they are curated contrast. Importantly, this textural interplay also has a psychological effect. The hard surfaces speak to order and logic, while the soft materials whisper comfort and care. When the two are balanced, the room becomes more than just efficient, it becomes inhabitable. You're not just observing the design, you're invited to experience it, touch it, and live in it. This contrast also speaks to the broader mission of Charette Theory: to create spaces that are not only visually refined but emotionally responsive. In autumn, as our instinct turns inward, we seek environments that feel protective, enveloping, and alive. The contrast of soft against hard, warm against cold, mirrors the emotional duality of the season.
Bauhaus living room is complete without an intentional use of art and object design, but here, decoration isn't mere embellishment. It's structural, purposeful, and always rooted in geometry and abstraction. In true Bauhaus fashion, art and decor should feel like an extension of the architecture, not an afterthought. Each piece, whether hanging, standing, or functional, should interact with the room's geometry and contribute to its sense of balance and rhythm. Autumn is a time of shifting forms in nature, and this transience pairs beautifully with the fixed, calculated forms of Bauhaus-inspired art. Start with abstract wall art. Think bold yet refined, compositions built from circles, lines, grids, or color blocks. These can be monochrome or accented with fall tones like ochre, burnt sienna, or deep forest green. Look to the works of artists like Wassily Kandinsky, Paul Klee, and Laszlo Moholy-Nagy. Their Bauhaus-era compositions remain timeless and incredibly relevant in a modern home. Choose prints or originals that feature geometric harmony, where balance, negative space, and line direction enhance the architectural narrative of the room. Position these pieces with precision, centered above furniture, flanked by lighting, or arranged in a grid. Even a single piece on a blank wall can act as a visual conductor, bringing cohesion to everything around it. Beyond the walls, consider sculptural decor. A minimalist ceramic vessel with an exaggerated handle, a metal form balanced on a wood base, or a smooth orb resting on a console. These objects don't just fill space, they anchor it. Choose forms that speak in curves and angles, not in ornate detail. Bauhaus ceramics often emphasized raw materials, matte finishes, and hand-thrown integrity, so look for pieces that feel both grounded and intentional. Ceramics and sculptural objects can live on open shelving, coffee tables, or integrated into furniture design itself. A modernist clock with an abstract face, a shallow concrete bowl, or a small kinetic mobile hung near a light source, all of these speak the Bauhaus language without overwhelming the seasonal tone of the room. The key here is restraint. Don't clutter. Instead, curate. Select a handful of pieces that echo the geometry of your furnishings and the seasonal palette of your textiles. Maybe a pale terracotta sculpture sits beside a moss-colored felt coaster, or a group of stacked books, chosen for their graphic spines, supports a deep green vase. This approach also honors form as storytelling. In Bauhaus design, every element is expressive. The height of a vase, the angle of a sculpture's base, the weight of a ceramic bowl, each is a gesture, a line in the visual poem of the space. Your living room becomes not just a place to sit, but a place to see and be seen, where the viewer and the space are in quiet dialogue. In autumn, the earthy tones and natural light add another layer to this conversation. As the sun moves across the room, shadows from angular decor stretch and blur, interacting with surfaces and textures. This interplay of light and object creates a living artwork, one that evolves throughout the day, offering a sense of rhythm and calm, true to both Bauhaus discipline and seasonal warmth. In a Bauhaus-inspired living room, furniture and decor are not just functional, they are icons of ideology, physical expressions of a design movement that forever changed how we inhabit space. Including original or inspired Bauhaus pieces in your autumn interior brings a historical depth to the room. These objects act as visual anchors, tying your space to a century-old lineage of form, function, and minimalism. Begin with the Wassily chair, designed by Marcel Breuer in 1925. Its tubular steel frame and taut leather seat embody the Bauhaus belief in industrial materials used for domestic comfort. It's not only a chair, it's a statement of confidence, clarity, and restraint. Placed in a corner of your living room, perhaps beneath a geometric wall print or beside a warm-toned floor lamp, it serves both as a sculptural element and a usable piece of furniture. Next, consider the Wagenfeld table lamp, designed by Wilhelm Wagenfeld. With its opal glass shade and clear, symmetrical stem, it's one of the most recognizable lighting pieces in Modernist history. In an autumn interior, this lamp glows softly, diffusing light across a sideboard or desk. Its simple silhouette allows it to coexist beautifully with warmer seasonal textures like wool or felt, its cool geometry softened by context. Other timeless pieces include Joseph Albers stacking tables, typically featuring square surfaces in primary or complementary colors. These tables demonstrate modularity and clarity of form, perfect for a minimalist fall living room where flexibility is key. Reimagining them in wood finishes or autumnal hues creates a seasonal link without sacrificing the original spirit. But your Bauhaus homage doesn't need to be literal. There are countless modern reproductions and reinterpretations that align with Bauhaus values. Look for items with sleek profiles, geometric structure, and visual efficiency. A modern armchair with a curved walnut frame and black leather cushions. A minimalist credenza with recessed pulls and a grid-like facade. A coffee table with a floating glass top and matte steel base. Even smaller items can echo this legacy. Think of ceramic vessels inspired by Marianne Brandt's industrial teapots, or textiles with motifs derived from Annie Albers' weaving patterns. A Bauhaus-inspired clock with strong numerals and a radial layout. These pieces are subtle nods to history, layered into the room like hidden narratives, waiting to be noticed. It's also worth noting that Bauhaus was never frozen in time. Its principles have inspired generations of designers, from mid-century modernists to contemporary minimalists. So when curating your space, feel free to include current designs that uphold the Bauhaus spirit, functional, honest, and quietly bold. The key is balance. These iconic and inspired pieces should be used sparingly and with intention. One chair, one lamp, one table, that's enough. Let each one breathe, surrounded by negative space and natural light. Let their function speak for their form, and let their heritage quietly shape the mood of your room. In doing so, your autumn Bauhaus living room becomes more than beautiful, it becomes meaningful. A space that honors design history, serves your daily life, and responds gracefully to the seasonal warmth that fills the air. In any living room, lighting does more than illuminate, it shapes atmosphere, mood, and perception. In a Bauhaus-inspired autumn interior, lighting becomes both tool and sculpture, a silent performer that interacts with materials, space, and time of day. Autumn, with its shorter days and softer sunlight, invites a more intentional use of ambient lighting, warm, layered, and sculpturally expressive. Start by thinking in layers, not brightness. Overhead lighting alone feels clinical and flattens a room's character. Instead, introduce multiple sources of light, each with its own role in softening shadows and emphasizing form. Think table lamps, floor lamps, and sconces, each chosen not just for how they function, but for how they contribute to the visual harmony of the room. Choose warm-toned bulbs, ideally between 2200K and 2700K on the color temperature scale, to mimic the golden hue of autumn light. These tones flatter the earthy palette of rust, ochre, and brown already woven into your textiles and decor. A grey wool sofa under a warm lamp appears cozier. A rust cushion glows with richer dimension. Now let's talk about form. A Bauhaus-style table lamp typically features a spherical or dome-shaped shade, often in opaque glass or metal. These round forms soften the linear nature of modern furniture and offer a counterpoint to the sharp geometries elsewhere in the room. Place one on a console table, sideboard, or low shelf. Let its glow create a pool of warmth that draws the eye in without dominating the space. Modernist floor lamps, inspired by the likes of Christian Dior or Marianne Brandt, are perfect for corners or reading zones. Look for slender profiles with simple architectural lines, perhaps a steel rod arcing over a lounge chair, or a three-legged lamp with a minimalist shade in matte black or brushed brass. These designs feel timeless and quietly sculptural, adding height and rhythm to your visual composition. Wall sconces are another smart addition, especially for smaller rooms or homes with limited surfaces. A Bauhaus sconce typically features a half-dome or tubular design, often in chrome or frosted glass. When mounted beside a mirror or above a side table, it provides indirect light that washes the wall in soft radiance. It's both illumination and ornament, enhancing the architecture while casting a gentle shadow. Materials matter, too. Use metal, opaline glass, and fabric shades to maintain a minimalist material palette. Avoid excessive ornamentation. Your lighting should feel intentional, precise, and almost elemental, like it was born from the room's structure rather than added to it. As light interacts with surfaces, wool throws, smooth ceramics, matte paint, it creates a play of texture and reflection that changes throughout the day. In the early evening, when the sun begins to set and the ambient lights come on, your living room takes on a different character. Shadows lengthen, materials glow, and the space begins to feel more intimate and contemplative. In this way, lighting becomes seasonal design. It reflects the softness of autumn's atmosphere and provides warmth without bulk. It also honors the Bauhaus belief that lighting should be both functional and beautiful, never an afterthought, always a part of the story. In the world of Bauhaus, lighting is never just about visibility, it is a profound example of how form and function can merge into a singular, poetic object. When curated thoughtfully, lighting in a Bauhaus-inspired autumn living room becomes a sculptural element in its own right. It doesn't simply support the room, it elevates it, casting not only illumination but also structure, shadow, and shape. Autumn naturally shifts the rhythm of light indoors. As daylight fades earlier, artificial lighting becomes more prominent, which means every lamp, sconce, and pendant plays a larger role in shaping the space's experience. Here's where Bauhaus principles come into focus. Lighting should be clean, modern, and engineered for both utility and beauty. Consider a mid-century Bauhaus floor lamp with a striking arc or tripod base. In daylight, it acts as a vertical sculptural line, reinforcing the geometry of the space. Standing tall against a gallery wall or placed strategically beside a modular chair. At night, it transforms, casting a soft downward pool of light that warms your reading corner or seating zone. The lamp does not disappear when switched off, it retains its presence as an architectural gesture in the room. Table lamps, too, can embody this duality. A lamp with a globe-shaped diffuser, sitting atop a minimalist metal stem, may look simple at first glance, but observe how it glows like a small planet when turned on. It becomes a luminous object, not only functional, but atmospheric. When placed on a walnut sideboard or concrete console, its shape and material contrast draw the eye, framing the space with intention. Wall sconces, often overlooked in conventional design, are essential in the Bauhaus philosophy. A sconce shaped like a perfect cylinder or quarter-sphere can emit a soft, ambient halo that feels almost architectural. These forms blur the line between lighting and sculpture, clean, precise, and expressive in their restraint. To amplify this sculptural effect, pay attention to shadow as much as light. A round lamp casting soft-edged shadows onto a wall. A louvered fixture throwing linear shadows across a bookshelf. A globe pendant reflecting itself subtly in a matte ceramic vase below. These small design moments become part of a larger, quiet choreography of form and contrast. Use lighting to divide the room into zones without using physical partitions. A spotlight over an armchair defines a reading space. A glowing sconce above a credenza emphasizes display. A cluster of pendant lights above a coffee table creates a gathering zone, all while reinforcing the room's structure without breaking its openness. And remember, true to Bauhaus legacy, lighting design also celebrates material honesty. Choose fixtures that showcase their components: visible screws, exposed wires, steel arms, glass diffusers. Let the construction itself be beautiful. Let the materials speak. This kind of clarity creates visual harmony that feels modern and timeless, rooted in design history but perfectly suited to contemporary living. In autumn, when light becomes more precious, this attention to sculptural lighting turns your living room into a canvas of warmth and intention. It doesn't just brighten the space, it sculpts it. It makes even the quietest evening feel deliberate, composed, and alive with subtle beauty. While Bauhaus interiors often favor minimal ornamentation, that doesn't mean they exclude nature, especially not in autumn, a season rich in form, texture, and earthy color. In fact, the organic world offers the perfect counterpoint to the geometric discipline of Bauhaus. By introducing seasonal botanical elements, such as autumn foliage, dried branches, and natural arrangements, you create a deeper dialogue between structure and spontaneity, line and curve, stillness and change. Rather than overwhelming the space with lush bouquets or overly stylized florals, Bauhaus seasonal decor favors simplicity and architectural shape. A single stem of maple leaves in a tall cylindrical vase. A cluster of golden dried grasses fanning upward from a sculptural vessel. A few twisted branches reaching toward the ceiling, their shadows playing across a white wall. These small gestures connect the indoors to the outdoors, grounding the living room in seasonal context while maintaining visual clarity. Bauhaus-style vases, often minimalist, monochrome, or made from honest materials like glass, stoneware, or metal, become the sculptural base for these organic elements. Look for vessels with cylindrical or conical forms, simple handles, matte finishes, or visible textures. The vase is not just a container, it's part of the composition. A white ceramic form with a subtle curve, placed on a walnut console or black metal shelf, allows a few rust-colored oak leaves to stand out like art. Even a branch of dried eucalyptus can add incredible depth to a neutral corner. Its pale green-gray hue harmonizes with the cool tones of Bauhaus interiors, while its curve introduces motion and rhythm. Use these seasonal materials as visual punctuation, moments of softness, reminders of change, pauses within the built environment. You might also experiment with groupings of minimalist vessels, each with a single element: a sprig of wheat, a branch of dogwood, a few dried seed pods. Arranged on a sideboard or shelf, they read like a still life painting, a balanced study of volume, proportion, and tone. The beauty of using dried or seasonal plant life is its longevity and low maintenance, an ideal trait for minimalist interiors where every object is carefully curated. These arrangements won't require frequent tending, yet they evolve subtly over time, catching different light, shifting in texture, becoming part of the room's temporal story. In autumn, the inclusion of these natural elements softens the precision of the Bauhaus room. They bring life to the geometry, movement to the stillness, and warmth to the order. They remind us that even within the most functional design, there's room for poetry, for the rustle of leaves, the angle of a twig, the curve of nature against the logic of steel. design is renowned for its clarity of structure, crisp lines, rational grids, and modular forms. But within that geometric framework lies a deep appreciation for balance. To avoid sterility or visual rigidity, Bauhaus interiors often welcome contrast, especially through form. That's where organic shapes come in, not as decoration, but as counterpoints that soften and humanize the space. In an autumn-themed Bauhaus living room, these organic forms take on an even greater role. As the natural world outside bends and curls, dries and fades, your interior can reflect those changes, not through chaos, but through gesture and asymmetry. Start small. A ceramic bowl with an uneven, hand-formed lip placed on a linear coffee table breaks the uniformity without disrupting the harmony. Its imperfect silhouette invites the eye to linger, adding a sense of warmth and tactile depth. The form feels natural, instinctive, like it was shaped by hand and time, not by machine. You can also introduce free-form sculptures or decor objects, rounded stones, asymmetrical glass vases, or smooth, pebble-like trays in slate or alabaster. These pieces contrast beautifully with the hard surfaces and right angles of Bauhaus furniture. A rectangular console with a circular stone object placed just off-center becomes an exercise in spatial tension, a moment of softness amidst the strictness. Textiles offer another opportunity to incorporate organic shape. A rug with a fluid, amoeba-like outline, still minimalist, but irregular, breaks up the grid beneath your feet. Or consider a wall hanging made of soft wool or linen, gently undulating in form and neutral in color, mounted on a clean white wall. These elements don't disrupt the Bauhaus sensibility, they enrich it, adding rhythm and breathing room. In lighting, organic shapes can also shine. A pendant light with a softly rounded form, or a sculptural table lamp that curves rather than angles, becomes both functional and evocative. It casts gentler shadows, rounding out the visual geometry of the space with more atmospheric grace. Even in your floral arrangements and natural decor, lean into asymmetry and movement. A single branch that bends slightly to one side. A bundle of dried foliage that fans out unevenly. These choices introduce life and spontaneity, a seasonal softness that balances the intellectual precision of your furniture and layout. This balance of the organic and the geometric is what keeps a Bauhaus interior from feeling too strict, too cold. It transforms the living room from a modernist diagram into a living environment, structured but sensory, clean yet soulful. In autumn especially, when the body and mind crave warmth and softness, these organic shapes help the room feel inhabited and emotionally responsive. They remind us that while we may seek order, we live in flux. And great design doesn't fight that, it invites it in. In autumn, light becomes a quiet luxury. The sun arcs lower in the sky, casting longer shadows and bathing interiors in a soft, golden hue. In a Bauhaus-inspired living room, where clarity, line, and proportion are central, the way this light enters and moves through the space matters immensely. That's why window treatments are more than decorative, they're tools for shaping light while preserving the clean, minimalist aesthetic at the heart of Bauhaus design. Start with sheer curtains in muted, earthy tones. Think warm whites, pale greys, soft taupes, or creamy neutrals. These allow filtered light to pass through gently, diffusing harsh rays into a glow that flatters both space and skin. Unlike heavy drapes, which can feel imposing or overly ornate, sheer curtains feel weightless. They add a tactile softness without breaking the architectural lines of the room. Their translucency is especially important in the fall. As daylight dwindles, you want to maximize natural light without overexposing the interior. Sheers offer the best of both, privacy and brightness, structure and softness. When sunlight hits the fabric, it creates texture from shadow, casting gentle patterns on the floor, furniture, and walls, subtle, shifting, alive. For a more structured alternative, consider roller blinds or panel tracks in similar muted tones. Their clean, rectilinear form aligns beautifully with Bauhaus principles, offering visual order and material honesty. When drawn, they provide privacy without heaviness. When lifted, they disappear almost completely, allowing the architecture and view to take center stage. If your windows have unique dimensions or strong architectural features, arched tops, gridded frames, or industrial edges, embrace them. Use window treatments that frame rather than conceal. Mount shears from the ceiling to emphasize verticality, or extend blinds wall-to-wall for a seamless, gallery-like effect. The goal is to enhance proportion, not interrupt it. Material choice matters, too. Opt for natural fibers like linen or cotton blends, which diffuse light beautifully and feel authentic to the Bauhaus ethos of material truth. Avoid overly synthetic or glossy finishes that can clash with the matte tones and textures typically used in a Bauhaus setting. In terms of hardware, keep it minimal and discreet. Slim curtain rods in matte black or brushed steel, or concealed tracks that let the fabric float, all reinforce the room's visual clarity. You want the curtains to read as part of the wall, part of the rhythm, never as a separate, decorative statement. Incorporating these thoughtful, minimal window treatments allows your space to breathe. They let the season in, light, shadow, and shifting sky, while maintaining the structural calm of your interior. And most importantly, they reinforce one of the most human elements of Bauhaus design, designing with light, not just around it. Bauhaus interiors is their uncompromising clarity, spaces where every surface serves a purpose, where excess is stripped away to reveal the beauty of structure, material, and proportion. But this doesn't mean cold or impersonal. Especially in autumn, when we crave warmth, comfort, and connection, the challenge becomes, how do we keep things minimal without sacrificing soul? The key lies in curating, not decorating, intentionally choosing what lives on your surfaces and allowing each object the space to breathe. Start with the coffee table. Instead of filling it with trinkets or books stacked high, select just a few thoughtful elements: a ceramic bowl in warm terracotta tones, a matte black tray with a single sculptural object, or a small stack of art books topped with a dried floral arrangement. Each item should feel grounded and essential, not arbitrary. Think of the table as a stage, not storage, a place for function and quiet expression. On sideboards or media consoles, maintain long stretches of visual negative space, punctuated by one or two elements: a round lamp, a Bauhaus-style vase, a framed print leaned against the wall. Use these moments to reinforce the room's geometry. A curved object against a linear shelf. A dark form against a pale surface. The tension creates warmth through visual contrast, not through volume. Shelving, too, should be intentional. Mix books with closed storage to reduce visual noise. Allow shelves to have space, room between books, space around objects. A dry branch in a low bowl. A textile folded neatly beside a hardback monograph. These quiet vignettes tell a story, but never shout. In the kitchen-adjacent areas or entry points, apply the same rule: clear surfaces, with accents chosen for both form and feeling. A small dish for keys. A single pendant-like casting soft shadows. Even in utilitarian spaces, restraint fosters calm and clarity. Now let's talk about inviting warmth. This doesn't come from clutter, but from materiality and light. Use soft wool throws, textured pillows, and warm-toned wood to balance your visual simplicity. Let your color palette, ochre, sienna, moss green, echo subtly across the room in coordinated accents. A warm-toned rug under a clean-lined table. A rust-colored cushion on a pale gray chair. These elements introduce layers of depth and human scale, all without overcrowding the space. Also, don't forget the role of emptiness. In Bauhaus thinking, space itself is a design element. An uncluttered surface is not a void, it's a pause. A moment of stillness in the room. A way to highlight the textures and forms that are present. The emptiness frames the presence. Ultimately, a Bauhaus living room in autumn becomes a balance between precision and warmth, structure and softness, intention and emotion. By clearing away the unnecessary, you create space for the essential: light, form, texture, and the people who live within it. A minimalist room doesn't need to feel distant. When curated with care, it feels thoughtful, personal, and deeply alive, a modern sanctuary that welcomes the season without losing its design soul. As autumn settles in, our homes shift with the season. The light becomes golden, the air cooler, the pace of life a little more reflective. In this quieter rhythm, the Bauhaus philosophy feels especially resonant: design that prioritizes clarity, intention, and honesty, without ever forgetting the human experience at its core. In your living room, this means more than clean lines and smart furniture. It means creating a space that works for you, one that serves, supports, and inspires. It means making deliberate choices, modular seating that adapts to your lifestyle, lighting that functions as sculpture, textiles that warm without overwhelming. It means finding that perfect contrast between hard and soft, straight and organic, minimal and meaningful. And in autumn, this philosophy comes to life in new ways. Earthy colors deepen the palette. Dried foliage and organic forms soften the structure. The waning light is shaped through shears and glows from sculptural lamps. Every detail contributes, not for show, but for purpose. Every texture, every object, every surface is curated to tell a story of seasonal warmth grounded in timeless design. That's the heart of Bauhaus in autumn, not a trend, but a transition. A gentle evolution of your space that aligns with the world outside. A reminder that beauty lives in function, and that even the most rational room can be a place of comfort, creativity, and rest. So whether you're redesigning from scratch or simply layering in seasonal touches, embrace the Bauhaus ethos this fall. Let your living room reflect your needs, your rhythm, your sense of season. Because in a well-designed space, one where every element is chosen with care, you don't just see the design. You live it.